welcome to today's video. I'm out today south of Grantham. It's a little bit chilly, got my sleeves on, not as warm as it looks. I'm heading towards Castle Bytham from Corby Glen. I'm roughly following the route of a main railway line. As you can see, you've got some really nice lanes to ride on down this way. The main reason for coming this way, I've not done it for a while, but I'm chasing squares, fellow viewer squares. What I'm riding through now, currently, is new squares for me. Very nice little lane, like it. If you're not familiar with it, fellow viewer has basically divided the world, it seems, up into small squares. I'm not sure of the exact size, but I think they're about 1 kilometre. And you kind of measured on how many squares you've ridden through as a total, and how many squares you've ridden through in a very large grid, all connected to each other. And that's what I'm trying to extend today. If I remember rightly, I think I'm on a 21 square, which is relatively big. But these squares, the road I'm going down gives me 2 more squares, which is right on one corner, which I'm hoping is going to increase my number of squares that are all joined together from 21 to 22, or maybe even 23, not 100%. So as you can see, I'm just passing under a railway tunnel. So this is just gone under part of a stretch where the steam train Mallard set its world famous speed record, 126 miles an hour. I'm roughly following it for a few miles, zigzagging back and forth underneath the railway line. It's a really nice area to be riding. Never been this way before. So as you can see, back under the railway line. So I've come a little bit off piste. I saw a sign that said Ford. You know what I'm like with Fords. What have we got? We've got a Ford. We do like a Ford, eh? Some very nice new tarmac out this way. as you can see, pretty large quarry over there. So I stopped in a nice little village of Swinstead. How nice it is too, look. So just recently I was asked to run through my cockpit setup of a bike. So I thought I might do it now. So, what's on the handlebars? And indeed, what's on the rest of it? So, if we go left to right, this bar tape, standard bar tape, I'm about to change it. It's quite worn, 2.5 years old. It's a little bit worse for wear, it needs replacing. But just here, we've got a bell, it's a loud one. As you know, I do quite a lot of riding along canal towpaths, along cycle paths and off-road, so it's quite handy to have that bell. I'm using a Wahoo element bolt version 1. That clips onto this mount, which actually sits in the top of the stem. So aluminium, CNC aluminium, holds the Wahoo. If I'm honest, I would prefer it out front here, which is the more usual place. But last year I rode quite a lot with a bag on the front, and basically the bracket got in the way of the bag quite regularly. And also the bracket that I had a GoPro mount underneath it, and there's no way you could use that with the bag. I prefer it sitting out front from an ease of use point of view, but actually that is quite a nice neat place to put it. Then to the right of that here, we've got my front light. That is run from an external battery pack. There's the wiring for it. Wiring comes up, comes through here. The battery pack sits inside this Rosling top tube bag, which I've reviewed before. I shall drop a link up there. On the handlebars then also here, this is mainly to hold the camera. Obviously I can't show you the camera because I'm using it. But this is a Podsax handlebar bag. Got an enclosure up top, so when the camera on its mount is in there, not in use, it can be secured. And there's some mounts on the side to hang things off. Water bottle, obviously this one at the moment is a Vel water bottle, and here we've got another Podsax tool bag, carries in there tools and tubes. The rear light sits on the carbon seat post with a nice little band. That's an exposure. Garmin Variant radar. That's on a non-standard mount, so it's actually mounted, if you can just see under here, it's a CNC aluminium clamp. Clamps really securely onto the seat rails, but I have just added, you can just see there's an extension of about 1 inch long, and it just sits the radar just that little bit further out from under the seat. On that mount it was a little bit close and it was quite hard to operate the on off button for it, so it's just a small extension. So that is what I carry on the cockpit setup and on my bike. It's all quite functional. I could take the light off actually this time of year. If I took that off, I'll save quite a lot of the weight of the battery pack in there because it is quite heavy, but it's no great shakes. I'll leave it on. If we do an evening ride and it gets a little bit later, I've got the light to get me home if I need it. So I'm going to make tracks now. I'm going to head to Corby Glen, back to Grantham. As you can see, this is a nice remaining traditional direction post. That's the way we're going. Down that way. Just starting to get a bit wet. It's raining. That wasn't in my plan. I think I'm just on the edge of the clouds. Wasn't on the forecast. I don't think I'm going to get wet. Just a few spots. So this morning's ride, just a shortish one really. I'll end up about 20 miles. Did about 30 yesterday. Health update. My knee, 90% improving. Still a little bit weak. Can be a bit stiff in the morning, as it were, when you wake up till you get going. But it just feels like occasionally it wants to give way. But it's fine on the bike. I set a couple of segments, driver segments, on a couple of rides just to sort of test it, and I've beaten some of my previous best in short bursts, so quite happy from that point of view. It is improving, not perfect, but it's improving. Cough, not improving. 7 weeks now. Went for x-rays last week, which presumably has found something, because they asked me to go for CT scans, which they got in 48 hours. So that was yesterday's task, to go for the CT scan. Keeps coming and going, it's very frustrating. Surprisingly, cycling affects it to a degree. It does make me cough, but it's not as much as you might think, and generally when I stopped. So in the next couple of videos, I'm going to do a little bit of coffee content for you. I'll be taking a little stove out on the ride and covering a few ways to make coffee when you're out riding. So I shall see you again in a few days' time. Thanks as always for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon. Bye. Keep calm. Party with mom. I like that.